And we are live. Back again, July 5th. Me and Mitch. Neil is still out on his short vacation. And
I don't know if it's a vacation. I think it's more kids aren't in school because it's summertime.
right. Maybe it's a vacation for the kids, not a vacation for Neil.
There it is. Yeah. What do
Um,
we got? July 5th, the day after 4th of July. Some of you are probably recovering. Some of you probably are feeling better than others.
yeah.
It's the Independence AMA
Independence Day, man.
for us American folk.
Yeah, I wonder how many people in oh wait, we got to unmute on the Discord. I
Oh,
wonder how many
yeah.
people celebrated 4th of July in the Leo family, because I know we got a lot of international crowd
Yeah.
who
No,
obviously don't care about 4th of July.
I saw some comments. There's definitely a solid U.S. presence in
Yep,
the Leo community. That
absolutely.
my free BTC. I'm still waiting on Celsius to unfreeze my crypto. Although other than that, I'm doing fine.
Great, that's good.
You and a lot of other people I know, unfortunately. In fact, I was gonna do like a little media blast on like all my social channels after being quiet for the last month, talking about centralized exchanges are not what crypto's about. So if you're caught up in that and you're saying crypto's a scam, you obviously know nothing about crypto. Not your keys, not your coins.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing. If you are like, if you're knowledgeable about crypto, then I'm sure like my free BTC knew the risks of Celsius when he got into it. So hopefully he didn't use a significant chunk of his portfolio, but
Yeah. Well, yeah,
that's
and I
just the
don't,
game.
I'm not speaking directly to him. I'm just more so talking about the normies that, obviously um, I'm connected to and interact with and reach out to me and whatnot.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you never expect, he said it wasn't much, but I wasn't expecting, you never expect the platforms to go down, especially when they're that big. But, it's been crazy. Like even um, BlockFi got sold for pennies on the dollar because they basically went insolvent on a lot of these loans because of the three AC liquidation and
Yeah.
then other liquidations. So,
Well, and that's where like, oh, we need crypto regulation and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we don't need regulation on crypto. We need regulation on exchanges and like, centralized service providers, just like you have with stocks. I mean, obviously Charles Schwab and, TD Ameritrade, all that stuff, like there's regulations and licenses and all that stuff. I get that because in essence, someone else is handling your money.
right.
When it comes to the purity of crypto, you are in control of your own money. You control your money. So in that case, you don't need those things. But yeah, anytime you're handing your money over to someone else, some oversight is probably welcome. But yeah, it's crazy like how mismanaged funds were in these exchanges, and it's just like you wonder
You
how
would
they even get so
think,
big.
right. You would think they would be a little bit smarter, but they're not. So,
My free BTC, they went full degen. I can do that for myself. Pretty much. People basically gave them money to go full degen for them. It's
you
like
never go full DJ.
like doing that is like all the degen with none of the fun. If you're gonna degen, at least get the entertainment for yourself.
Yeah, Nifty Phil said, look at CoinFlex. They
Yeah.
they released a we actually talked about it last week. When we talked about it last week, it was just like a breaking story, and they said like it was like an anonymous, or they weren't like releasing the name of this like public figure who owed them a lot of money for one of these under collateralized loans. It was like 47 million or something.
Yeah.
Um, And when we talked about it, we didn't know who it was. And then a couple hours after the podcast, they came out and said Roger Ver
Yep.
is the guy, and apparently he's claiming that he doesn't actually owe them the money and that they owe him money.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's finger pointing. But the funny part about it is that CoinFlex released a token to tokenize the debt and try to raise the capital back. So they're
Wow.
offering like 20% fixed APR on it. So
So
kind of interesting.
basically it's what I call the BitConnect sign. Once you see that, get the hell out of Dodge. That was like when BitConnect went to release BitConnect X. This moment I saw that, I was just like, you need to get as much money as you possibly can out of this as soon as possible. I started withdrawing every single day. Um, then again, going in, I pretty much was positive it was a Ponzi scheme. But once I saw they were doing Bitcoin X, I'm like, up, they need to raise funds. They're broke. The Ponzi, the house of cards is about to collapse. And I
Yeah.
just started pulling money out. So like my initial capital was still locked up, unfortunately, but I'd pulled enough money out where I ended up making a 40% return on my money in the matter of like 6 months.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if BitConnect could have went like 2 or 3 more months, I would have done so well because like I was so close to my money starting to like unlock.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I had friends that were just like stack and stack and stack and making fun of me for pulling money out. Like, I'm making this. I'm like, you haven't made shit until you've booked it.
Right.
And
It's all
then
paper gains.
unfortunately, yeah. And like kind of like normies, but normies that were like a little bit into crypto and like, people that thought they were up 10, 20 G's and then poof, gone. And they went from, you know, thinking they were crushing it to taking a big L.
Yeah.
Advertised rug pull.
Um, Public service announcement. We have the YouTube channel back. Not the YouTube channel. We don't have, let me rephrase. We don't have the original YouTube channel back. We have YouTube live streaming enabled on the new channel. So we have YouTube streaming back for the weekly AMAs on the new YouTube channel. So I know a lot of people have been asking about that for a long time. When are we going to get it back? And we finally got enough views and subscribers on the channel to get streaming enabled. So if you're not following and liking all of the YouTube videos, make sure you go and do that. Helps Leo grow, obviously. And our clips have been getting posted there too by Head of Growth. And then yeah, so now we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter and Discord. So you
Heck
can
yeah.
ask your questions.
All I thought about was the scene from Old School at the end with Will Ferrell. I'm back. You know it. In fact, I saw a thing. Apparently, that the movie Old School hit Paramount Plus, and it was like the number one streaming movie for the first couple of weeks. And it said like how the title of the article was like a 20-year-old movie is the number one streaming movie on Paramount Plus. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, that movie's 20 years old.
Wow.
Fuck. Like that's my movie. Like I remember watching that movie when it came out and just still quoting it to this day. I can't believe it's 20. It's literally an inside joke between me and a bunch of my friends using quotes from that movie.
That's
And
funny.
obviously like Mitchell Palooza, so that became a thing. I even have the T-shirt that my buddy gave me for my 30th birthday.
That's funny.
But that is bananas to me. It's such a freaking awesome movie.
What movie is this?
Old School.
Oh, I've never seen
Vince
it.
Vaughn, Will Ferrell, Luke Wilson.
Never
Yeah,
seen it.
they're like in their 30s and they start a fraternity at like this local college.
It sounds funny though.
No, it's a great movie. Oh, there's so many quotes. Yeah, Nifty feels like, how have you not seen it? Phil, don't let it surprise you. Me and Neil have had this moment with Cal many a times where it's like, wait, you haven't seen this or you've never heard this song? I'm like, just shake my head at this point in disappointment.
I don't really watch a lot of movies or TV, but
Well, I was gonna say I'm okay with it. Like he doesn't need to be wasting time on TV. He needs to be building LeoFinance things.
yeah, building, no sleep, no
Exactly. Keep his
rest, no
ass
rest
keep
for
his
the
ass in the
line.
lab. Lock him in
Yeah.
the laboratory. Throw crumbs at him every once in a while to keep him awake.
Yep. Just give me a little food every once in a while too.
Uh,
All right.
I know my soul, in my opinion, way better than Superbad.
I've never seen that either.
Superbad, I don't know. Superbad was good. It was I don't know. The characters annoyed me a little bit, but yeah, it's a good movie. But yeah, if you haven't seen Old School, anyone listening, you need to do yourself a favor and watch that movie, especially if you're a dude, because it's pretty much debauchery.
Should we
Yeah,
talk about
basically.
this? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So, well, unless you want to talk about something different, I was gonna say. So, do you want to jump into any Leo Finance update for the week before we talk about general crypto, or do you got something else?
Yeah, I would say like a good little weekly recap of what we've been working on. So really the focus this past week has been on LeoFinance.io and Lightning. We've released the first three community pages, and with the release, like community pages is, and we've talked about this a few times, it's kind of like this massive release of a bunch of things with Leo Infra and Lightning. So a lot of back end improvements in order to get community pages working, and then obviously adding in like a whole new style of content curation where you've got multiple curators that basically can curate the content that goes into those individual feeds. That creates like this really heavy load on the Lightning server. And for anyone who doesn't know, Lightning is LeoFinance. Lightning is like a caching layer. It's like basically it's a second layer on top of Hive, where it relays content and comments and upvotes and all of that good stuff. Gets relayed between the Leo UI and Hive, the blockchain on the back end. So the cool thing about Lightning is that it is essentially our own second layer. Obviously, we don't run a token on top of Lightning, but it has theoretically has the capacity to do that as well. But it right now it runs all of the content layering, and basically it makes the site a lot faster than it would be without Lightning. So if you're an OG, you remember pre-Lightning days when LeoFinance loaded in like 10 seconds whenever you clicked on anything, and now things are super quick. And since the release of the mobile app and community pages, we've essentially released like these several new versions of Lightning that have to handle all this stuff. So a lot of our focus in the past week has been on the back end, fixing Lightning and fixing Leo Infra to make it all better, especially as we get ready to roll out the mobile app in kind of a bigger way. So the mobile app is in V1 in production on Android. It's still waiting for approval on iOS, and iOS takes forever. So we're just kind of patiently waiting on an iOS approval before it goes into the iOS app store. So that's kind of where we've been at on that stuff. And we're working on the new threads feature. So this is probably going to be one of the most exciting moments for LeoFinance is when we release the threads feature. Threads are essentially the proxy Project Blank. It's like a pre-Project Blank, release, kind of like a warm-up round. But really what we're doing is taking our infrastructure and all the stuff that we've been building for LeoFinance with the long-term roadmap. So essentially the way we've built everything is that we have this long end game of Project Blank, and all of the stuff that we do to lead up to that is essential. And it's like all this key infrastructure that we needed to build, like this second layer for Lightning, and then the back end for accounts and storage, which is Leo Infra. All of this stuff is essentially on this long-term roadmap to Project Blank. And threads are going to be basically Project Blank built on top of LeoFinance. So it's like the entire idea behind it is that we can test all of our infrastructure, and we can kind of test a few different models that we have for Project Blank, which is, if you don't know, which I'm sure everyone here knows already, Project Blank is short form microblogging on the Hive blockchain. And it doesn't, when you create content, it doesn't push it as a Hive post on the blockchain. So, it's a game changer, because if you like to microblog or you like to use Twitter, you'll essentially be able to post, 100 times a day on Hive if you want. And it's not going to show up on your blog feed where you'll obviously get a lot of backlash on Hive if you are posting 100 blogs a day. So Project Blank is kind of this big game changer that we've all been waiting for. And our team has been basically building for 2 years now in terms of building all this infrastructure through LeoFinance in order to basically get to Project Blank later down the road. So threads are in a nutshell, threads are crypto Twitter overlaid onto LeoFinance. So the entire idea is going to be to target crypto Twitter and try to get them onto LeoFinance to basically create these microblogs. And we're going to be testing and scaling up. This is going to require a lot of work for us on the back end. And this is all stuff that we've been working on, for a few months. And lately we've been working even harder because we're getting pretty close to releasing threads. It's going to require a lot of work for us to scale this up. So, there's going to be an initial rollout and then kind of these continuous scaling updates that we have to push. We've brought on a lot of new devs, so it's been a lot of work, but it's been fun to kind of get close to this Project Blank release. I'm really excited about threads and to see it in action and see kind of like this foreshadowing of what Project Blank could be when we release threads on LeoFinance. And obviously with the mobile app, this is like a good, it's good timing to have the mobile app reach V1 and have threads almost ready, because I think threads will give Leo Mobile like that killer use case where you can tell people, I always use this example. Let's just say you're out at dinner and you're talking about Web3, you're talking about crypto, and you say, you're talking to someone who's interested in it. You say, well, there's this place that you can go. There's this app that you can download where you can learn about crypto. You can talk to people about crypto, people who've been in the industry for years. It's super easy to download. It takes less than 30 seconds to set up an account. Obviously we use, LeoInfra for all that account creation stuff. And, they don't need to store any keys until they're ready. They can obviously just download it on the back end if they want. And with threads integrated, then you can tell them, yeah, it's just like Twitter. You just go on there, you can make, little questions or comments. So if you're talking to like a crypto newbie and they're asking you a lot of crypto questions, you could say, hey, download this Leo mobile app, go onto the, the threads page on the app. It'll be at the home screen of the app. And then, you can take any crypto question you have and just post it. You could say like ask, and you could have like a hashtag ask Leo, hashtag for the thread. And then you say, why is Bitcoin below 20,000? I'm just trying to think of what a normie would ask. And then, everyone on Leo sees that thread on whether they're on desktop or mobile. They see that thread and they can just respond and obviously give their opinion on it. And then they can upvote the person who created the thread, and then they can get upvotes on their replies. And then, now you've got, in less than 30 seconds, you've got a normie that signed up to Leo Mobile. They're using the app and they created a thread. They obviously didn't have to go write a 1,000-word blog post. They just wrote a simple question that they have, and they're earning crypto. And to them, 7 days later, they get a payout. They look at their wallet on the Leo mobile app and they see that they gained some Leo. They might've made, 10 cents or 20 cents. And they're like, wow, this is something I could get addicted to. And then they start just writing questions, writing answers. Nifty Phil saying complete game changer. It really is. Cause right now you've got this issue where if you're not creating long form content, there's really no place for you to be earning Leo consistently. Like you can make comments, and our community, I think, is the best community on Hive in terms of upvoting comments and getting people rewarded for engagement. But that obviously requires that you still read a long form article and then respond to it and then get someone to upvote you. So a thread is just a complete game changer where, you're just posting as a normie, you might post 10 questions a day or 10 questions a week. And, you could be earning a couple dollars from that. And then you start checking your wallet and you get addicted to it. And then you start obviously doing more and more, and it creates that, compounding effect. So I truly believe that between these are like kind of the, the three core releases that I've been working on, for, I don't even know, probably like 12 months, which are Leo Mobile V1, threads, and community pages. So Leo Mobile V1 is done, community pages are done, threads are the next thing. And having all three of these released together in my opinion, is what takes our monthly active users, from 650 to 2,500 and beyond. It just creates a much more tailored environment for people to use LeoFinance, whereas right now it's kind of like this mosh pit of people who are creating content, long form content, people who are curating it and commenting. Instead, you can kind of give people this tailored experience where you can say, if you like long form content and you want to read about specific topics like Thorchain or Splinterlands, then you can go to a community page and read about it. If you like short form content, and you want to use it like Twitter, then go to the threads section, and you can find obviously all this different stuff. And then threads are integrated into community pages so that you can say, okay, well, I want to read threads only about Splinterlands, or I want to read threads only about Thorchain. And then all of it gets basically filtered through that community page as well. So it's really what we're doing with these three things: Leo Mobile, community pages, and threads, is sectioning off LeoFinance and creating a very tailored experience. And then, that if you take a step back, then you see that Leo Desktop is tailored to the content creator experience. Leo Mobile is the content curator experience, or the consumer experience. Because some people may upvote, some people may not. So it's good to look at it as like creators and consumers when you take a step back and look at Leo Mobile and Leo Desktop. And obviously this all changes when you have threads, because then on Leo Mobile you've got people creating threads and creating content, but they're not writing 1,000-word blog posts from their phones, which is obviously not feasible. So Nifty Phil saying this is the killer feature that kicks off Leo Mobile. It really is. It's creating what we've all been waiting for with Project Blank. So obviously Project Blank is still out there, and it's kind of that big ticket item on our roadmap, where it's going to be that broad-based Twitter, basically like the Twitter killer. But this threads feature is kind of like crypto Twitter on LeoFinance, and it lets us test all the infrastructure, scale it up, and then get Project Blank rolled out. So,
well, I was gonna say that's kind of seems like what the whole point of this is generally a beta test for Project Blank.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And obviously, bringing in more users to LeoFinance, bringing in more use cases, and making it, a lot more usable, a lot more user friendly. So that's where we've been at on LeoFinance. I mean, there's been a lot of focus lately on Leo Mobile, LeoFinance.io, and obviously all the backend stuff with Leo Infra and Lightning. That's where a lot of my attention has gone recently over the past week. And then with on the DeFi side, most people know that the roadmap has us doing all of these releases on PolyCub, and then kind of packaging them up into a single release to roll out onto Cub with like basically a V2 release of Cub. So with the stuff that we're working on, Vex PolyCub is kind of the next big feature release. So we're going to have Vex PolyCub, the governance UI, where you can vote on all the different governance aspects of PolyCub. So, a big one being the yield governance, but, also other things. There's I'm pretty sure we're going to do a vote or we're going to launch a proposal to change the wrapping fees, potentially increase the wrapping fees, and which will basically increase the value accrual for PolyCub's protocol. So, all these different things that we need to vote on. We're waiting for the governance UI to be done, and then we'll be, all set to go to have all these different proposals get launched. And obviously governance is like the core utility of PolyCub. So in my opinion, this is what everyone's been waiting for with PolyCub. And, the price has been pretty stable. I feel like, as people are just kind of looking and waiting, they're kind of waiting to jump on it for, whether they're a seller or a buyer. I think they're waiting to decide what they're going to do until they see the governance in place. And obviously things like Vex PolyCub, collateralized lending. So I'm very excited for what Vex PolyCub and the governance UI are going to do for us. I think it's it's really fulfilling that mission of PolyCub, which is to create reliable, sustainable, and growing yield. So that killer feature of DeFi that everyone is looking for right now, whether you're on LeoFinance, Hive, or broader in the crypto space, is reliable yield where you're not worried about the platform blowing up. Even look at like Celsius as an example. If we can create a platform for our community where people can pool assets and not be worried about it blowing up or disappearing tomorrow, I think that's kind of the key. It goes back to that broader vision of LeoFinance as a whole, as a Web3 ecosystem, which is to democratize financial knowledge and access. So, this is the access part in terms of the DeFi stuff we're working on. So I would keep a close eye out in the near term Sooniverse for a full scale release of several features all at once on Polycub, which is going to be namely around Vex Polycub and the governance UI. That's really where the focus is going to be.
That's awesome. It's going to be very interesting with the threads feature, just even, initially using it and how it interacts with, the existing LeoFinance platform.
Right.
Because in the end, everything's a learning curve, even if it is just for one hot second. So, or how that plays out for new users. I was actually trying to go and open the Leo Mobile app because I hadn't opened it for a while, and I opened it yesterday. I think it was to do some voting because I'd been away from my machine so long. And it took a hot second to actually load up. So I wanted to see if that was the same case here, but no, it was pretty fast. Bring up the app.
Yeah, sometimes
circle goes like 3 times and then boom.
Yeah. Sometimes if you haven't loaded it in a while, it'll take a little bit more time to grab everything.
That makes sense. Yeah, it took a hot minute, but I hadn't opened it in, I don't even know, at least a few weeks. Just because I do it, just only time I really use it, like Leo Mobile for me is more of a convenience. It's like when I'm not at my computer for long stretches. Generally I'm in front of my machine every single day, but occasionally I have that where, maybe I'm just away from my desk for a full day or something like that, or if I'm traveling or whatever.
Yeah.
Leo Mobile's money for that. I've only just I use it for voting and commenting. I haven't done any posts from Leo Mobile yet, which is more so a preference just because I'm more old school. I prefer to write on desktop.
Yeah, and I think that's how it'll always be. The desktop is going to be for the creators, mobile is for the consumers. For sure.
For LeoFinance, definitely. Obviously, you talk about like threads or Project Blank, then obviously, Mobile Mania.
Yep.
Which
absolutely
is good because that caters to a larger demographic and it caters to a growing demographic. The long form content creator is a dying breed.
100%.
Nifty Phil is excited. He thinks that it's going to be the killer feature that kicks off Leo Mobile.
100%. I agree.
I can see that.
Should we talk about this, get into the crypto markets a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that.
So why don't you take this one?
Yeah. So Gerber had shared a tweet from someone that I actually hadn't come across yet, and they shared something very different, and that was a comparison of Bitcoin versus metals. So specifically Bitcoin and copper, and basically those two price charts overlaid, and kind of scary how similar they are, especially since really, 2017 when Bitcoin really started moving as opposed to just looking like a straight line going sideways. So since then, all the peaks and valleys have been the same, over the last 4 going on 5 years now. And, you look at the end, and anyone that's obviously in the Discord chat, you can see the chart. And yeah, as Idiosyncratic just said, are they twins? And that's the thing. Like literally, they look like twinsies. And we've seen a bigger sell-off in Bitcoin relative to copper this year, but in the end, it's still like they both have the same peak, the same drop. So looking at this chart alone and nothing else, so like this in a vacuum, it doesn't make me bullish on Bitcoin being at a bottom yet, because copper clearly still has room to drop. Just looking at potential like demand zones, which would really be that peak back in December 2017, which it looks like there's also some bottom reversals there back in 2020, I guess that is late 2020. So with that said, it looks like copper still could potentially have a decent little chunk to fall. And that doesn't mean Bitcoin is going to continue to fall, because these two prices can converge again. Because if you look, every time there's been decent divergence, eventually they end up converging. But these are over very long time spans. So, that convergence can take 6 months to a year without a problem, maybe even longer, So very interesting, though. Not something I would have looked at otherwise. And super curious to see when copper and Bitcoin do bottom, if it plays out, as a pair, especially as they converge, because right now there's some really good divergence. So just, I don't know, something random to keep an eye on. Nothing I would have thought of to look at. And I'm sure there's some theory about the correlation. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it has to do something with like equipment, and the cost of copper and the mining of Bitcoin. I don't know. I'm obviously just grabbing your straws right now, but I'm sure there's some fundamental theory behind the pairing of these two.
Yeah, I always find these correlations to be interesting. As much for the actual correlation as for how people perceive them, because at the end of the day, when it comes to TA of any kind, it's really because price action is happening because a lot of people are looking at the same thing, and obviously reacting in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, a coincidence can happen, but often, usually, there's something behind it, and it's not just a blind coincidence. So, there's very likely something behind this pairing. There you go. Morty said, when BTC Copper Kingdom.
Soon.
I think we should do Cub Copper Kingdom. And then you can have like copper necklaces for your cub.
That would be cool.
Sooniverse.
Sooniverse.
But yeah, in regards to Bitcoin, I mean,
yeah, what do you think's going on with Bitcoin? We kind of had some interesting action this weekend where I feel like we started the weekend at like 19K, right? And then we jumped yesterday to 20, tested like 20,300. Now we're back to 19.5.
Oh, are we? I haven't even looked at it today. I got to look at it. It was a late start for the cat today after 4th of July. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that for a second when we were talking, gearing up, that when I saw Bitcoin at when was that? That was probably, because the third ended up being a green candle, but I remember that dipped under 19. I was looking at it when it was like 19,000, like $32 or something. I was like, I really feel like we can get a little pop. I should buy some here. And I didn't, because I was out and about the rest of the day. So really wasn't going to be watching it. But yeah, like you said, we popped up to like 20,300 and then pretty much have jumped right back down. But the key is, though, we've basically been holding for the most part 19.3, which everyone talks about 20K, but me personally, like if I'm talking about a specific number, like 19.3, like right around that area is my real break point. So like I don't really care if we're under 20K as long as I see price still above 19 for the most part. Under 19, I think, is where you're truly establishing below support. And obviously, we had a couple candles that dipped under that, but the lowest close was essentially 19,000. It was a few points shy of that. When we dipped down to 17.5, it ended up closing up at essentially 19K. And then the next day, same thing, dipped just under 18, but closed over 20. So we really haven't seen any closings on the 19. So that's why, like, in my mind, we're technically holding this big support level thus far.
Yeah, where do you think if you had to guess, where do you think do you think this is the bottom, or do you think we've got more ways to go, and you're just waiting to see that break below 19.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week. Honestly, um, this being a bottom is a potential scenario that's on the table, but it's not the scenario that I'm personally buying into. Um, but when you look at the charts, like you look at a weekly chart, you really get a better perspective. Like RSI is, at 26, pretty much weak oversold. Stochastics RSI is, you know, um, below the 20, like well below the 20, and it's been there now from multiple weeks, right? So you can't like stay that weak and that oversold. So there's probably going to be some kind of rally, or there's just going to be consolidation to work that off. Same thing with like the moving average. Like I use that 10 period as the daily, but even with the weekly, I look at it, it's still, it's still pulled away from that a bit. It started to catch up because we've gone sideways basically for 3 weeks. When you look at the weekly, all these movements over the last couple of weeks, like look like nothing even happened. So I don't know. I still expect, I think it's more so like, how when you have like a bullish move and it's like, you get a big burst and a consolidation and then the next leg up, kind of like bull flags. I feel like we almost might be in like bear flags. And that's only because of the surrounding macro environment. You know what I mean? It's just like Fed's going to raise again. Stock market's getting his ass kicked today. I expect, weakness over the summer in regards to the economy and the stock market. So with that said, it's hard to be bullish on Bitcoin finding a bottom here. So that's particularly why I'm being more risk off in terms of aggressively entering. But the reality is this being a bottom being carved out here is definitely a scenario. But otherwise, I'm waiting for the next big sell-off to buy again. I don't know that we'll get down to 14K, but if we do, that's where I'm going to be buying a nice chunk. And that's also where, like, if Bitcoin gets to 14K, that's when I don't even have to think about if I'm buying alts or not. Like, I'm also buying alts there too. Like 14, 14, I'm down to 13. And that'll be my next real big buying season. And then after that, I don't care what happens, like, because I'm just done and I'm holding. If it goes lower, it goes lower. But who knows if we'll ever see that. So that's why dollar cost averaging.
I've been hearing a lot of people saying, things like, Bitcoin's going to go down to 10K, wait to buy until we breach 10K and we go down to 7K or something. I don't know. I have a hard time believing we're going to get that low. I feel like we got, my personal take, and I don't really look at charts or I don't really look at much analysis at all. I just kind of go based on like general market sentiment, things I read on LeoFinance and Twitter. And, my general take is that I think we saw a rampant liquidation crisis with all these big platforms like Celsius and 3AC and BlockFi and other companies, basically having these liquidation crises. And I have a hard time believing that we're going to see 10K because, they've had plenty of time to deal with these liquidations. There's very little, there's very little going on in terms of actual, there, if I could put it like a simple way, there's very little going on that would make me believe that 10K is feasible. The fact that we got down to 20K so quickly, in my opinion, is just because of the liquidations on these big companies. And that 100%. Contagion has already spread and it's already leaked and it's already taken effect. We're already weeks into it. So in my opinion, we saw the major leg down. We're not going to see it again. So I've been dollar cost averaging with the idea in mind that maybe we could leg down, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah, it's like, that's not your thesis, but it's an option that's on the table.
Right.
So now you make a good point. So I have a question. The liquidations, right? And obviously, all the stuff that went down the last month. That's one of the reasons why I'm still a little cautious, is that I don't know that the damage has been completely already done. Like, I mean, I guess BlockFi already sold. We're still waiting for the potential fallout with Celsius. You know what I mean? Like we don't have a conclusion to what happened to Celsius yet. We just have the initial
Right.
fallout. So like I'm wondering if there's still more dominoes to get knocked down, or if this sideways action and this consolidation is giving um some of these ventures time to, save face.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw that I just posted this article. I saw that Celsius had repaid a lot of its debt. So it paid $120 million in debt, and now their liquidation price is below 5,000
Oh,
for Bitcoin.
oh. So if that's the case, then they should be in good shape.
I would think so, yeah. And how they're paying that down, I haven't really looked into, but I'm sure they're getting lines of credit and similar things to what's going on with BlockFi and other corporations that got over leveraged. Yeah, like Nifty Phil saying, stacking loans on their loans and then paying back.
Yeah,
It could be
exactly.
it.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much the way of America for especially the last like 20 years. Just stack, 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 bubble, blow up. And then it's like the old school Dennis Leary skit. Like when he's talking about celebrities, he's like, "I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get famous, and then I'm gonna go on a bender. And then after that, I'm gonna go into rehab, and I'm gonna come out and be like, sorry, I fucked up, and everybody's gonna love me again." That's basically
Smart
what these
plan.
financial companies do for the last 20 years. It was like we saw it with the dot-com bubble, we saw it in '08, and we're seeing it now. It's just like
Yeah,
it's the same. It's just like it's the same movie playing over and over again with just different characters.
right. You'd think people would catch on.
Right? It's like what is what it says in Roadhouse. Uh Same story, new town. It's true. Or to quote Swayze, it'll get better it'll get worse before it gets better. Stacking loads on loads.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I just feel like liquidation crisis issues, especially the ones we've seen in the past, like in 2020, is it happens all of a sudden, and then we see a quick recovery after all the damage is done. But obviously, this one could be a little bit different. It was more systemic this time, where massive platforms were over levered,
Yes.
and then obviously in 2020 we had issues with over levered companies, but not as big as what we've got now. Then we also had a macro environment where everything was recovering, as the money printers went burr. All assets started to recover very quickly, so we kind of rode the wave on that with Bitcoin. So it's a little different. It is a little different this time in terms of the macro environment and in terms of how big these companies got in terms of leverage. And then obviously you had the Terra Luna thing that happened, which really was like it was it was the lead domino.
That was
The Luna
yeah, I think that was the fuse.
failure. It was, yeah. Well, because and it came out that like all these different exchanges lost, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in the whole Terra collapse. And that's what essentially started getting them to over lever. And, they started to put on a lot of leverage. And obviously not having all that liquid capital that they had, weeks prior. That's obviously going to change their business model a lot. So
100%.
it's just crazy how much leverage they took on and thought that they would be okay. I mean, it's really crazy, but people get delusional in a bull market.
It happens every time.
And people do get delusional in a bear market as well. People get, they get caught up in the FUD and they start to freak out. We've even seen it, and Nifty Phil will attest to it in tech support and other places where people have no patience. People are, it's funny to see like how much the FUD creeps in on everything that people do. So he put up a good reminder in general chat to stay level-headed and remember that the bear market doesn't last forever, and
Exactly.
just keep building, keep moving forward. I'm focused on getting more monthly active users on LeoFinance. That's where the focus is. And we'll come out of the bear market into the bull market, even better than before.
Like
Obviously,
said,
last
bear
time we
markets
came
for
out,
building.
right? Bear markets are for building. We've hired on and that this is like a good metric to show you what a well-run company looks like versus a poorly run company. And in my opinion, is we are hiring on devs at an unprecedented pace right now. Whereas like other companies, like on this Celsius article I just posted, they cut their workforce by like 150 employees. BlockFi obviously cut their employees, Coinbase cut their employees. So if you have a plan and you stay level-headed, like he's saying, you can do a lot better, because in the bull market I took a lot of profits into stable coins. I took a lot out into fiat, and I gave us basically a 5-year runway to hire on devs to keep building and keep building for the next bull cycle. And in my opinion, that's what all the good companies did. Like, look at FTX. They, everything essentially goes to shit. And instead of just like crying about it and having to take on, lines of credit, they're the ones giving the lines of credit. They're buying out companies like BlockFi for pennies on the dollar. It just goes to show you, if you build correctly in the bull market and then get ready for the bear market, then you can build at a ridiculous pace. You can buy things super cheap. This is how people like Warren Buffett built their fortunes. And obviously now you're going to see, Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of FTX, he's going to come out in this next bull cycle as probably one of the richest people in the world. Because he's right now acquiring all these crypto assets and companies at pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, he pretty much pulled the Warren Buffett, basically. He's like literally Warren Buffett crypto. You know what I mean? Like, he had the war chest on the ready, and now, like you said, fire sale prices, buying things at pennies on the dollar. You pretty much can't lose when you're buying things pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Yeah, FTX is going to end up being the big name in the next bull market.
Yeah, he's gonna be one of the major crypto heads in the next bull market. That's for sure. Not even major crypto. He's gonna be like one of the major financial players in the world, I think, in the next bull market.
It's wild. It's wild how fast things change. Like these days, man, like the velocity of wealth building and wealth and and wealth destruction is so amazing. Things that used to take decades, you can do in like 2 to 3 years if you hit it right.
Yeah, this is a big moment right now for building in a lot of different ways, in terms of building technology for LeoFinance and our monthly active users, and also in terms of if you take it on a personal level, building your portfolio of assets in this time is going to be what leads you to generational wealth on the next bull cycle. That's for sure.
It's interesting too. I think everyone's so used to the volatility that we've had pretty much this whole year. I mean, we had one hell of a drop, since April. When you look at the weekly, it's basically just all red. Like there's one green candle mixed in like over the course of like 3 months. It's bananas, like, which had never even happened before. But when I look at like prior price action, I look at like, these depressed indicators and whatnot. That didn't mean we went up in price when these things bounced. Like we went sideways, and I'm looking at back like 2018 even. We essentially bounced around in a range from April to November. Then we got that last sell-off, which was the low. Then pretty much same thing, carved out that bottom over the course of like 2 months or so. And then at that point started moving higher. So, there's no reason we can't easily bounce around like 18 to 30, in between 18 and 30K for the next 3, 4, 5 months. And then maybe see like a last dip even below. The more I look at this weekly and the more, taking in the points that you were making, the more I feel like that is a real scenario where we're just going to like grind sideways in a range for like 3 to 4 months.
I can see it happening.
I'd be okay with that. I think that'd actually be the most ideal scenario, because then we don't see any ridiculously low prices. And then B, that gives me time to just slowly get in, because that's the biggest thing I pay attention to as an investor. It's like, all right, I have X amount of capital to use, so I'm not going to use it all, at 20K. I'm going to save
Right.
some for potential buys lower.
Right.
But if we grind sideways for many months, usually over that time, you get more capital available. Obviously everyone's different. Some people have active income where they know they have fresh powder coming. Some don't. But
yeah, I'm hoping we stay range bound down here for a while. I've been dollar cost averaging just every single day. Neil mentioned it too. I have a similar plan to Neil where he basically took a chunk of money. He said, I've got this much money that I want to put into Bitcoin, and I'm going to do it over the next 180 days. So he just took that, divided it by 180, and is buying every single day. So I'm pretty much doing the same thing, and just dollar cost averaging my way back into Bitcoin. Like I said, I mean, I sold a lot of my crypto over the past kind of 12 months, 12 to 18 months. I was just selling into stable coins and even into fiat, and just kind of, I kind of figured something like this was around the corner. I didn't think it would be as dramatic as it was. But I prepared for the idea of a bear market and crypto winter and getting back to, and I mean, you can go back to the ultimate record of these podcasts and posts and Discord on LeoFinance and see, I kept talking about it. I can't wait for the bear market. Can't wait for the bear market to bring on new devs and get some fresh blood working on the project. And then, obviously be able to buy back into crypto cheap. I was ready and waiting for it. It still hurts though. It still hurts the existing portfolio, but it's a good opportunity. If you can see out past a few months or even a few years, then you can see the opportunity. And I think that's what can get you excited again about crypto, about Leo, about, everything that we're building here. If you can look out past just the next few months, I always say this, like in the TikToks and in other places where we're posting Leo content, most people are focused on the next 5 minutes. But the real wealth builders are focused on the next 5 years.
Indeed. Yeah. I think, the, what you call it? I keep blanking on the word. Roadmap keeps popping in my head, even though it's not the word. It's the word again for, planning ahead, having enough, funds.
Runway.
Runway.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Seriously.
It's a foggy day. It's post 4th of July.
No,
it's a foggy brain day.
It's foggy post COVID for a year now, brain. The new normal. But yeah, I think that, having LeoFinance and thinking about that runway probably was a good motivator for you in terms of, booking gains, making sure you had a war chest. Like me personally, I was just focused on, all right, how do I get to a point where I have a big enough nut where the yield is, that forever income, so to speak. And I think because of that, I wasn't booking anything. Maybe I was obviously keeping stuff in stables, but somehow I got probably just unallocated, like late in the game and a sort of the wrong time. I mean, I'm still in pretty good shape, but it was just funny because I always had a large chunk of stables, and now is probably the smallest I have. And that's not because I've converted them into crypto on the sell-off. It's just because that's where it was when this sell-off started. So yeah, I definitely wish I would have booked some gains and put them in stables, but in the end, all that stuff's working, earning yields every day. So not too worried about it.
Yeah, like Boz said in chat, I thought I had more time before I needed to start moving things. I feel like that's what everybody always thinks, right? And Nifty Phil said famous last words. Yeah, that's what everyone always thinks. You always think you have more time than you really do. There's that famous saying, everyone overestimates what they can accomplish in 6 months, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 6 years,
100%.
So start early, as Neil would say if you were here. sell early and sell often.
There you go. You know, it's funny. I think I pretty much stopped saying 100% because it's on my background, but I've never remembered to switch to my when soon show background.
Uh-oh.
So I'm making up for it by saying 100%.
I like that.
That's funny. How'd you not remind me? I got no when soon. It's got some Bitcoin.
I actually noticed it when we first jumped on and then I forgot.
I got Bitcoin. It's like right here, angel and devil. Angel is Bitcoin. Devil is nothing. There's nothing there. We don't do fiat. I don't even need it to be there. I don't listen to it. It's funny. But cool. So everything's trucking along with Polycub. Obviously, you know, V2 vaults are doing their thing. I'm assuming next up is what, the launch of Vex Poly.
Yeah, we've got the launch of Vex Polycub and the governance UI coming, and then with that governance UI are going to be a few different proposals for some stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens when, you know, Vex Polycub really changes the tokenomics of the platform, and it you know adds this really interesting dynamic, which people will see when we go live with it. And then the governance UI obviously adds that incredible level of utility that we've been waiting for. In the weekly governance votes, I think we only have like 20% participation or something. And obviously that's because we don't have a UI yet. So if you're doing it manually through, you know, through MetaMask or
Yeah,
whatever
UI is
wallet
going to
you
help a
use.
lot because I mean,
Yeah, the
I
UI. Yep. I'm hoping we see more than 50% participation in those weekly votes. And then in obviously the bigger governance proposals, we'll try to advertise it on the UI and make sure that everyone's seeing that, and get more people participated in governance. Yeah, as I keep saying, like governance is the core utility of Polycub. So we are, you know, I would have loved to have governance go live when we went live with the platform, but it took a lot longer. It took a lot longer to build it all out than I expected. So, which it always does, but you know, having the governance now is what I think is going to be that turnaround point for the platform. And you're going to see kind of this big focus around governance and this sustainability with the multi-token bridge. So it's a fascinating time to look at Polycub, and then obviously all this stuff is going to come over to Cub. So yeah, it's going to be awesome to see everything go live for Polycub. So my free BTC said, quick question: voting power of X Polycub will be 3 times ratio. Yeah, so you're voting. So essentially, by locking your X Polycub, you are multiplying your governance power by 3x. So if you have 1 X Polycub and you vote on governance, then you have 1 governance power. And if you stake 1 X Polycub into 1 Vex Polycub, then you have 3 governance power. So it's 3x. And then there's going to be a fixed interest rate on Vex Polycub. So it's like a reliable yield vault as well. And this is all modeled after Curve, and then controlled by the X Polycub governance DAO. So all this stuff we could have rolled it out like one at a time, but we're basically wrapping it all into one release, and then we're going to release it all at once. And there's going to be, I'm kind of considering all of this stuff to be like V2 Polycub, where you know, we had an idea for Polycub, and now, you know, that idea has changed pretty dramatically since the launch of PHBD and some other stuff, where we basically seen like this new form of value accrual. You know, the oracles for PHBD, PHive, PLEO, and PSPS are generating, you know, a lot of value accrual for the platform. So you're going to see like this whole shift in focus in terms of what we're looking at for the platform and how we're valuing things from a fundamental perspective.
What Boz was asking, yields paid in Vex, PCub, or X Poly?
It's paid in Polycub. So it will, we'll talk about it when Vex Polycub goes live. But essentially it's through the protocol and liquidity buying back Polycub. So it's sustainable, reliable yield. That's the whole mission statement.
And then How's that? Asked about Project Blank, which I mean, I think we got a vibe for that because first we need to see Threads, come out, and I'm sure you guys, we're gonna go through the process of the functionality of that and using that as a beta test. So, I mean, when it comes to a timeline for Project Blank, my personal guess is it's a 2023 thing, but
Get ready for threads. Get ready for threads. I think you'll see that sooner is. I think you'll see that soon is sooner than you think.
in the
So get
soonest
ready
of
for.
soons.
Yep. Get ready for
Wow.
threads.
We all know all the cat cares about is when all the stuff on Cub.
When moon. When moon.
I don't even need Moon. I just need when the features on Cub. Hence, anytime I ask a Polycub question, Cal knows the underlying motive is to, all right, that gives me clear
Yeah.
answers on when stuff on Cub.
Yeah, we are rolling out this V2 update to Polycub, and then that same update is going to be rolled out to Cub. And I'm excited for both. I think we are going to reach that sustainability that we've always been looking for.
Well, you know, I think what's big for these vaults being on Cub is that, think about it, like we have, uh, the PHBD and the, Phive. I'm curious to see how, a BHBD and a Beehive is going to do, just because many people prefer the Binance Smart Chain over Polygon in terms of,
True.
interacting with it, and also just, having exposure and money on it initially, especially the people that are outside the US. So it's going to be interesting to see how those farms do on Cub DeFi.
I have a feeling that they'll do very well, potentially even better than they do on Polycub. Like you're saying,
Yeah,
people,
but
Binance Smart Chain is a lot more stable than Polygon.
yeah, me
So yeah, I
personally,
agree with you.
yeah, I'll be like, as soon as the only reason I put any funds into like PHBD and Phive is because that's the only option. Like, as soon as like Beehive and BHBD is a thing, like I'm going with that farm. That's me personally though.
Yeah, well, and having both has a very positive impact on both feed into each other, because when there's arbitrage right now, when you want to arbitrage PHBD, Phive, PLEO, PSPS, obviously PLEO is different because we already have Leo on Binance Smart Chain, but when you want to arbitrage, just say HBD and Hive, you have to buy HBD or Hive from one of the existing exchanges. And then, especially with HBD, you only have the internal exchange. And then you can arbitrage it to PHBD and Phive. When we've got BHBD and Beehive coinciding with Phive and PHBD, now you've got arbitrage that can happen between those two pools on each side of the bridge. So then they start to feed off each other, because then if someone's arbitraging PHBD with BHBD, now they've got to buy just for example, PHBD gets sold off and they want to buy it to arbitrage it back to $1. They buy PHBD, then they unwrap it to HBD and then rewrap it to BHBD, and then they can sell it over there. And what that's essentially doing is now you've created wrapping revenue both for Polycub and for Cub. So it's this mechanism that really feeds on each other. The multi-token bridge is what changed the entire outlook on Polycub, and then it will on Cub when we launch it. And I think it's really cool to see the value accrual come in on that multi-token bridge. And that value accrual is only going to get bigger when we release that on Cub, because now you've got the two sides of the bridge interacting with each other.
Absolutely. So, and
another thing that I know a lot of people will ask questions about is, so on Polycub, the multi-token bridge earns value accrual, which goes into protocol and liquidity, which buys back Polycub and distributes it to Vex Polycub. On Cub, the multi-token bridge will work the same way, but instead of accruing value into protocol and liquidity, it will accrue value and then buy and burn Cub. Because Cub is a buy and burn model, Polycub is a redistribution model. So it'll be also cool to see how those interact with each other, and which one kind of outperforms the other, and just kind of see how it all works together. I think they have a very synergistic relationship.
sweet. Bring on the burn, baby.
Oh yeah.
So, kind of with that said, when you talked about the bridge, it made me think of basically like support and help desk, because a lot of times the bridge is a good chunk of support tickets. And public service announcement to start wrapping up this call is be cognizant of what your issue actually is, because someone that was kind of on a help desk in IT back in my corporate career, I would get blasted with issues that had nothing to do with the software or the service that I supported. I would still try and help people, but there's going to be a lot of that, since this is platforms that run on the Hive blockchain. A lot of times Hive based issues people are hitting the desk with, and then getting frustrated when they're not getting the answers to their issues. So I think it's important to not only be cognizant of what's the fundamental tool or whatever that associates with your issue, but also to provide as much information as possible, and basically just interact with a clear level head to help get your issue resolved, because getting annoyed and frustrated doesn't help solve the issue at all.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Always try and help, but make sure you're yelling at the right person. So, or you can do what I just said, take a deep breath and not yell at anybody, and approach things with a level head.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
So yeah, let's wrap this up. If anyone's got any questions, get them in now or wait till next week. And
just you could always drop them in, and throughout, another public service announcement, you could always drop questions in here in the weekly AMA chat on Discord, and throughout the week, if you don't want to wait and forget them, you could just drop them in there, and then we'll read them out on the next one. So
yeah, 100%. It's actually good when we have questions queued up.
Yeah,
so
preloaded ones.
Exactly. So this week, in like the last couple of weeks, we kind of just start talking about Leo update, and then just general crypto stuff, and then the questions eventually start flowing in. Usually when you start talking about the weekly update in regards to all things Leo. But yeah, feel free to put questions in throughout the week, and then we'll answer them. And this call is obviously recorded, and now it's on YouTube again, so you can always circle back and listen to it if you're not available to listen to it live.
Absolutely.
What is that? AMAs on the weekend. I don't know. It's a tough sell.
I'm thinking about doing a new show in addition to the AMA called Comments with Cal. So we'll see. I would have the head of growth basically find some good comments on LeoFinance, and they might be Leo related or other stuff related. It's kind of modeled after like the Ask Gary Vee show. If anyone's ever seen that. And she would like read off the questions, and I would respond to them. And,
well, I mean, that's good because it's a controlled environment, and you can touch on a lot of things quickly. So, Comments with Cal would definitely work, because you just grab stuff throughout the week and just hit on them. It can be something now where you're talking about, a 5-10 minute video that hits a ton of quick things.
Right. Yeah. Just a quick, just exactly. Just like a quick 15-minute video, hits on everything. And then that's it, edited down as well. So it's just easy to get in and out. And just do that in addition to this live AMA where people can ask.
It's kind of just like a controlled lightning round hot seat.
Yep, exactly.
It's just like boom, 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 boom. I mean, you probably won't even have to edit it. You just blast through it.
Right. Yep.
So cool. Yes, like and subscribe to all the channels. Tell your friends and family.
Awesome.
No doubt. Well,
sounds good. Well, we'll see everyone next week. It will be, what is it going to be? Where's my calendar?
Speaking of calendar, I'm hoping, when is that? So I'll be doing some traveling towards the end of the month into August. So I'll be good for the rest of July. August's the first Tuesday in August. I probably am also going to miss. So hopefully Neil is back available by then. I don't know that he will be.
Yeah, let's see.
I got 1 week that I'm not going to be able to make, but that's still a month out. So we'll see when Neil's out. Yeah. If anything, we could always just punt it to later in the week or something.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the cat will be with his partner, getting his hands dirty, helping on some real estate projects.
Nice.
What about the old LeoFinance account
Always
on
good.
YouTube? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we
That
talked
got
about that at the
fried.
beginning. Yeah, it got banned, but we're working on getting it back. Obviously, YouTube doesn't like crypto channels, so it's just more annoying than anything else. So we've got the Cal channel for now, and it works with the streaming these days. So go subscribe, like, view some videos, so it can bolster itself, and we can hopefully surpass the old channel pretty quickly.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah, because
climbing pretty fast in terms of views, though.
I'm not holding my breath on the old channel, knowing YouTube.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. We keep trying. I have someone on it that keeps emailing them, but we'll see what happens.
Cool. Alrighty. Well,
Sweet.
next week we'll see y'all.
Yep.
We'll see where Bitcoin's at, and you guys can throw all the wins at Cal again next Tuesday.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll see you next Tuesday.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.